Cold Blood 60th anniversary. The two, we can say, killers, they were ultimately convicted. Perry Smith and Dick Hitchcock are in separate cars. No, quite a game today, wasn't it? My gosh, both Shohei Ohtani and Pete Crow Armstrong hit 2 home runs. Father Hellenstein. Amazing. They're both amazing players. My gosh, yes. Nobody's more amazing. Nobody's ever been more amazing in the history of the game than Shohei Ohtani. And Pete Crow Armstrong, my God. Hi there, Paul Izzo. This is a mug from, or decorated by, embellished by, enhanced by Leanna Fink, the wonderful illustrator of her latest book, which, of course, is Ulysses S. Cat and Other Animals I Have Known. That's nice of you to say, Mark Gladstone. So, in cold blood on the 60th anniversary, Dick Hitchcock and Perry Smith, the killers, are in separate cars on their way back from where they've been apprehended in Las Vegas with a stolen car and boots that might give them away. And in their separate cars, they have been dropping the dime on each other, in a sense. I'm going to read just a little bit more of what we did last night and go in to what happens ultimately in the car carrying Perry Smith. This is where Agent Dewey is. Perry Smith says it was Dick Hitchcock who committed all of the murders. Speaking of Mr. Clutter, he says, I didn't want to harm the man. I thought he was a very nice gentleman, soft-spoken. And then he says, I thought so right up to the moment I cut his throat. And he says, wait, I'm not telling it the way it was. Perry scowls. He rubs his legs. The handcuffs rattle. After we taped them, Dick and I went off in a corner. Heather, David McGirt, and Karen Smith. To talk it over. Just between us. Remember now, there were hard feelings between us. Just then, it made my stomach turn to think I'd ever admired him. Lapped up all that brag. I said, well, Dick, any qualms? He didn't answer me. I said, leave them alive, and this won't be any small rap. 10 years at the very least. He still didn't say anything. He was holding the knife. I asked him for it. He gave it to me, and I said, all right, Dick, here goes. I didn't mean it. I meant to call his bluff. Make him argue me out of it. Make him admit he was a phony and a coward. See, it was something between me and Dick. I knelt down beside Mr. Clutter. In the pain of kneeling, I thought of that goddamn dollar, silver dollar. Little girl's silver dollar. The shame, disgust. And they told me never to come back to Kansas. So I didn't realize what I'd done till I heard the sound. It was like somebody drowning, screaming underwater. I handed the knife to Dick. I said, finish him. You'll feel better. Dick tried or pretended to try. But the man, and he means Mr. Clutter, had the strength of 10 men. It was half out of his ropes. His hands were free. Dick panicked. Dick wanted to get the hell out of there, but I wouldn't let him go. The man would have died anyway, I know that, but I couldn't leave him like he was. I told Dick to hold the flashlight, focus it, then I aimed the gun. The room just exploded. Went blue. just blazed up. Jesus, I'll never understand. Why they didn't hear the noise 20 miles around. Dewey's ears, this is Agent Alvin Dewey. Dewey's ears ring with it, a ringing that almost deafens him to the wispy rush of Smith's soft voice. But the voice plunges on, creating a fusillade of sounds and images. Hickok hunting the discharged shell, hurrying. Kenyon's head, where the boys, a circle of light, the murmur of muffled pleadings, then Hickok again scrambling after a used cartridge. Nancy's room, Nancy, the daughter, Nancy listening to boots on hardwood stairs. The creak of steps. As they climbed toward her, Nancy's eyes, Nancy watching the flashlights shine. Seek the target. She said, "Oh no. Oh please, no, don't, please, no. Don't. Please." I gave the gun to Dick. I told him I'd done all I could do. He took aim. The dark hall, the assassins hastening toward the final door. Perhaps having heard all she had, Bonnie welcomed their swift approach. Barry Smith again. That last shell was a bitch to locate. Dick wiggled under the bed to get it, then we closed Mrs. Clutter's door and went downstairs to the office. We waited there like we had when we first came. Looked through the blinds to see if the hired man was poking around or anybody else who might have heard the gunfire. But it was just the same, not a sound, just the wind. Dick panting like wolves were after him. Right there in those few seconds before we ran out to the car and drove away, that's when I decided I'd better shoot Dick. He said over and over, he drummed it into me, no witness. And I thought, he's a witness. I don't know what stopped me. God knows I should have done it. Shot him dead, got in the car, and kept on going till I lost myself in Mexico. Oh, a hush. 10 miles and more, the three men ride without speaking. Sorrow, this is a very important graph coming up. Sorrow and profound fatigue are at the heart of Dewey's silence. It had been his ambition to learn exactly what happened at the house that night. Twice now he'd been told, and the two versions were very much alike. The only serious discrepancy being that Hickok attributed all four deaths to Smith, while Smith contended that Hickok had killed the two women. But the confessions, though they answered questions of how and why, failed to satisfy the agent's sense of meaningful design. The crime was a psychological accident, virtually an impersonal act. The victims might as well have been killed by lightning except for one thing. They had experienced prolonged terror. They had suffered. And Dewey could not forget their sufferings. Nonetheless, he found it possible to look at the man beside him without anger, with rather a measure of sympathy. For Perry Smith's life had been no bed of roses, but pitiful and ugly and lonely progress toward one mirage and then another. Dewey's sympathy, however, was not deep enough to accommodate either forgiveness or mercy. He hoped to see Perry and his partner hanged back to back. Dunce, this is Agent Dunce, asked Perry Smith. Added up, how much money did you get from the Clutters? Between $40 and $50. I'm going to read one more very short chapter that follows immediately, because it says the news gets back to Kansas. Among Garden City's animals are two gray tomcats who were always together. Thin, dirty strays with strange and clever habits. Chief ceremony of their day is performed at twilight. They trot the length of Main Street, stopping to scrutinize the engine grills of parked automobiles, particularly those stationed in front of the two hotels, the Windsor and the Warren. These cars, usually the property of travelers from afar, often yield what the bony, methodical creatures are hunting. Birds, crows, chickadees, and sparrows, foolhardy enough to have flown into the path of oncoming motorists. Using their paws as though they're surgical instruments, the cats extract from the grills every feathery particle. Having cruised Main Street, they invariably turn the corner at Main and Grant and lope along toward Courthouse Square, another of their hunting grounds. A highly promising one on the afternoon of Wednesday, January 6, for the area, swarmed with county vehicles that had brought to town part of the crowd populating the square. Yeah, thank you, SR. This book is often considered to have invented the new journalism. The crowd started forming at 4 o'clock, the hour that the county attorney had given as the probable arrival time of Hickok and Smith. Since the announcement of Hickok's confession, on Sunday evening, newsmen of every style had assembled in Garden City. Representatives of the major wire services, photographers, newsreel, television cameramen, reporters from Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, and, of course, all the principal Kansas paper. 20 or 25 men altogether. Many of them had been waiting 3 days without much to do except interview the service station attendant James Spoor, who, after seeing published photographs of the accused killers, had identified them as customers, to whom he'd sold $3.06 worth of gas the night of the Holcomb tragedy. It was the return of Hickok and Smith these professional spectators were on hand to record, and Captain Gerald Murray of the Highway Patrol had reserved for them ample space on the sidewalk and the courthouse steps, the steps the prisoners must mount on their way to the county jail, an institution that occupies the top floor of the 4-story limestone structure. One reporter, Richard Parr of the Kansas City Star, had obtained a copy of Monday's Las Vegas Sun. The paper's headline raised rounds of laughter. Fear lynch mob awaiting return of killer suspects. Captain Murray remarked, "Don't look like much of a necktie party to me." Indeed, the congregation in the square might have been expecting a parade or attending a rally. High school students, among them former classmates of Nancy and Kenyon Clutter, chanted cheerleader rhymes, bubbled bubble gum, gobbled hot dogs and soda pop. Mothers soothed wailing babies. Men strode about with young children perched on their shoulders. The Boy Scouts were present, an entire troop. And the middle-aged membership of a women's bridge club arrived en masse. Mrs. J.P. Adams, head of the local veterans office, appeared, attired in a tweed garment so oddly tailored that a friend yelled, "Hey, what you doing wearing ladies' clothes?" For Mr. Adams, in his haste to reach the scene, had unwittingly donned his secretary's coat. A roving radio reporter interviewed sundry other townsfolk, asking them what, in their opinion, the proper retribution would be for the doers of such a dastardly deed. And while most of the subjects said gosh or gee whiz, one student replied, "I think they ought to be locked in the same cell for the rest of their lives. Never allowed any visitors. Just sit there staring at each other till the day they die." And a tough, strutty little man said, "I believe in capital punishment. It's like the Bible says, an eye for an eye. Even so, we're two pairs short." As long as the sun lasted, the day had been dry and warm. October weather in January. When the sun descended, when the shadows of the square's giant shade trees met and combined, the coldness as well as darkness numbed the crowd. Numbed and pruned it. By 6 o'clock, fewer than 300 persons remained. Newsmen, cursing the undue delay, as they often do, stamped their feet and slapped frozen ears with ungloved, freezing hands. Suddenly, a murmuring arose on the south side of the square. The cars were coming. Although none of the journalists anticipated violence, several had predicted shouted abuse. But when the crowd caught sight of the murderers with their escort of blue-coated highway patrolmen, it fell silent, as though amazed to find them humanly shaped. Handcuffed men, white-faced and blinking blindly, glistened in the glare of flash bulbs and floodlights. The cameraman pursuing the prisoners and the police into the courthouse and up 3 flights of stairs photographed the door of the county jail, slamming shut. No one lingered, neither the press corps nor any of the townspeople. Warm rooms and warm suppers beckoned them. And as they hurried away, leaving the cold square to the 2 gray cats, the miraculous autumn departed too, and the year's first snow began to come. I lost up the last word of the last line. And the year's first snow began to fall. Ugh. Yeah. Well said, Lucy Phillips. So, that's our open book for tonight. Still can't get into our set downstairs. We'll have something tomorrow night, too. It is beauty among the tragedy. That's very well said, S.R. And this was the book that in many ways is considered to be the beginning of what was then called the New Journalism. Truman Capote, Gay Talese, Tom Wolfe. My God, some other names that I could think of were certainly important to me. Certainly stimulating and sharpening my interest in journalism. So, thanks very much. Good to be with you. Maybe we can pick up spirits a little bit tomorrow night. Hi there, Rick Dabrowski. Haven't seen you for a while. Good to be with you. So thanks everybody for being with us tonight on our open book. By the way, in one show this week, Jennifer Lopez, Yo-Yo Ma, Willem Dafoe. Tomorrow I get to interview, though won't be on this week, the Wiggles. Some of you with children ought to know what I'm talking about, the Wiggles. Entertainers for young people from Australia. There was, oh yes, thank you, Mr. Dickens. There was a time in our family the Wiggles were so popular, our daughters were young, I thought they would acquire Australian accents. Would have been cute. So thanks for being with us tonight on our open book. We'll see you later. Take care. Bye-bye. Yes, Carla. Figured you would. Take care.